Before I start the show, if you're listening to this on the day it comes out, and if you live in Vancouver, FNRad is going to be at the TGR Flying High Again premiere November 9th at the Rio Theater for 2 shows. This is IF3's pick for Snowboard Movie of the Year. Also, it won Best Backcountry Part and Best Urban Part. Go to tetongravity.com for tickets to Mike Hatchett's Flying High Again. I know I want to watch this one on the big screen. You should too. And there will be prizes. Link to tickets in our bio. The FNRad Snowboard Podcast is presented by Skyview Campers. This game-changing tiny home camper is built by Never Summer in Denver, Colorado. Inspired by Frank Lloyd Wright's architecture, these 12-foot lightweight campers at just 1,500 pounds are a masterpiece in design. Enjoy sleeping like royalty under the stars on a true queen-size mattress with a moonroof in your secure home-like bedroom surrounded by ample ventilation and shades for privacy. Stay cozy with a propane heating system and enjoy well-lit interiors powered by rooftop solar panels. And when it's time to cook, ingenious exterior countertops include a sink and a double-burner stove, all under a giant batwing awning. Skyview Campers, redefining adventure. Visit skyviewcampers.com to start your journey today. Wired Snowboards offers quality hand-built custom snowboards built and tested in the coastal mountains. Wired has built me several one-of-a-kind boards that have stood up to my daily shred habit. In fact, my first Wired Chase is still my go-to POW board after 7 seasons. Wired brings my imagination into existence. That's fucking rad. Check out wiredsnowboards.com and design yourself a board to last a lifetime. Fixed snowboard bindings are simple, durable, and functional, featuring tool-free adjustments and a lifetime warranty on buckles and base trays. Fix makes bindings you can count on. Jason Bros created Fix after a bald-faced trip where his bindings failed and he vowed to build the world something better. I've been riding Fix buckles for the last 3 seasons and they're still like brand new. He's on to something. Fix, snowboard bindings built better. Rip Curl outerwear is designed to search further in the snow, offering strength, durability, and all-around performance. Whether you're venturing into the backcountry or on the resort, Rip Curl outerwear's got you covered. With a team that includes Chris Rasman and DCP, you can be confident that Rip Curl prides itself on creating jackets and pants with technical features that will keep you comfortable on your search. For over 35 years, the Boardroom Snowboard Shop has been Vancouver's premier snowboard shop. Check out the Boardroom's unmatched selection of snowboards, bindings, boots, outerwear, and everything you need to shred. The Boardroom's passionate staff and performance guarantee ensures you'll love what you buy. And remember, the Boardroom ships to anywhere in North America, so go to boardroomshop.com or visit their stores in Vancouver and North Van. The Boardroom Snowboard Shop. Outlive your friends with New Green's turbocharged organic drink mix. New Greens is a great tasting 100% organic, vibrant green juice mix, and they include sprouted seeds that leave the food in its most natural, healthful raw state for fast digestion and maximum health. Use code FNRAD at newgreens.com for 20% off your new daily breakfast routine. New Greens, my daily go-to. Stay tuned after the show for a chance to try New Greens for free. Support also comes from Mount Seymour, Grouse Mountain, Cypress Mountain, the Pro Standard GoPro accessories, and our friends at 1910. You can use code FNRAD at checkout for 20% off at 1910.com. I've set the intention that FNRad Season 9 will include a big focus on mental wellness, so I'm stoked to be partnering with The Haven on beautiful Gabriola Island. The Haven's 40 years of experience sharing knowledge about how to live more effectively as humans has helped many people. I just got back from a 5-day retreat, and I'd describe the experience as transformative. I know I've spoken a lot about psychedelic-assisted therapy, so I feel the need to say this was not that. and it was just awesome. The Haven has a full range of programs based on a foundation of radical honesty. Tap into your inner resources and liberate yourself from self-defeating patterns within the context of a group in it together, helping to provide empathy, witnessing, and self-acceptance. Go to haven.ca for more program information and use FNRad 10 at checkout for a discount. Also, feel free to DM me your questions about the Haven. Jamie, Lynn, and Schoph make art together. Scottie Daniels linked up with these two legends to help create 1910, a brand where they're using art to bring people together, and they truly believe that collaboration is the key to progression. I drove all the way to Mecca in Denver to meet up with Schoph, Jamie, and Scottie, 25 hours through the mountains and desert into an art show like no other. With legends like Travis Rice, Rick Alden, Ben Belloc, Chad Otterstrom, Mike LeBlanc, Jeff Pensiero, and many more, having conversations and appreciating the works of this week's guests, who sat down in the middle of that space while music blasted and tattoo artists did their thing, and we chatted about 1910.
I mean, early Japan, my first trip going over there was like 1991.
Holy fuck.
And I was still writing for LibTech. I was still essentially in high school. I graduated in 92.
Yep.
So going over to Japan in those early days, they're really, I mean, it was pretty raw. You know, like it was, the infrastructure wasn't there. It wasn't built up the way it is now. Just getting from point A to point B, if you didn't speak or read Japanese, you were in trouble. You know, and we had someone that was over there, this guy J.P. Martin.
Oh, I love J.P.
Yeah, J.P. Martin was working with our distributor, Mike Miyazawa. And he, once we got off the plane, we got picked up by the distributor. We probably got laid up in a hotel by the airport and then taken to the train station in the morning and then dropped off at the train station with the instructions that we were going to board a train, and at like 3:45 exactly, you get off.
Oh shit.
You won't know where you're at. You won't know what you're doing. It's not going to tell you in English.
Keep your eye on your watch.
Just get off.
Set the time, 3:45 exactly.
Things run on clockwork over there. It's
right,
so precise.
Right.
So at 3:45 we get off the train in Hakuba, somewhere up in the Nagano area, and there was J.P. Martin.
Wow.
So from then, but those early days, I think we established a lot of connections and relationships and made a great impact on the scene and the culture over there that I saw kind of build and nurture and grow over the next 10, 20, 30 years of going over there.
Hell yeah.
Even 2 years down the line or 3 years down the line, like I remember watching Matt Cummins sign this guy's North Face jacket, and it's probably like $1,000 North Face jacket, and the guy and asked for a big sign, big signature. So Matt took this huge Sharpie and just drew this massive wave and a bunch of stuff on there, and I was like, holy crap, man, you just ruined this guy's $1,000 North Face jacket. But that set this precedent where then that trip and years afterwards, people would come up and ask for artwork or a big signature, and it kind of started this thing where that's just what you did was sign it big.
That's fucking awesome.
But that was 91. Probably by 94, when I first got my pro model, 95, 96, the scene and the crowds and the lines, I'd go over there for trade shows and just have these lines that were deep. And I would sit there and just sign everything. Shirts, shoes, hats, cigarette packs, goggles, purses, babies, helmets, anything, everything.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I got started, doing little cats, I saw a little probably a Hello Kitty, or someone asked me to draw a Hello Kitty, so I did a little cat, and then then a bunch of girls would come up asking for cats, so I just start like drawing.
Is that for real? That really?
Yeah.
I've told you this before, but we had a 30-year mystery. Someone came in to the shop from Japan and asked if we had a Jamie Lynn boot cut. And we were like, boot cut? We don't know what that is. And everyone in the shop was trying to figure out boot cut, boot cut. For years, we would say Jamie Lynn boot cut. And then it's the Jamie Lynn Buddha cat.
Yeah, no, there was a graphic that had this cat. It was like I took a lot of like inspiration and ideas off of like a Tibetan Tonka paintings.
Sick.
And I think I did a version of kind of a Buddha posture with a cat. You know, it was like a Buddha in a lotus position, but it had cat heads instead of
I remember it.
traditional
Yeah,
head.
yeah.
And that was like I think that Liptech graphic was called the Buddha cat.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I saw it in a magazine years and years later. Because a Japanese photographer who lives in Vancouver, and I'll cut his name in here, John Cami, just on Craigslist was giving away his magazine collection. It was like Snowboard magazines free. I drove out to his house, boxes and boxes of these old Japanese mags. And they had different shit over there than we had here. And the Buddha cat was on, some stormy ad or something.
Yeah.
And I remember we didn't get many of those. That was the year of the hibiscus boards, I think. I remember them being ribbed.
Yeah.
The Buddha cats.
I mean, there was so much great marketing happening during that time where, board sales would be like astronomical, and there was no way that it was physically possible for those numbers to be relative on North America through retail shops. Because boards were buying like thousands of boards at a time.
Oh wow!
But they couldn't, the community and the number of people that were going into those shops, just it wasn't logical. And we realized like those shops were padding those orders, and then boxing them up. As soon as they'd come in off the UPS truck, they'd get boxed up and shipped straight over to Japan.
Right, because the market over there was insane.
Yeah.
We had Japanese store owners come to the boardroom and just pay retail for boards.
That's what I was going to say. They'd
Yeah.
come in and pay retail, and then turn around and buy a board for $300, $400, $500, go over and sell it for $1,000 all day long over in Japan.
Let's get you close to that mic, and we'll talk about. Did you did you ever go to Japan, like during your pro career?
No, not to Japan, but like we went over there for an art show. A Volcom art show. 10 years of, I think it was a shop out there, man, and we went out there and smashed out a bunch of artwork, but that's the only time that I've actually been over in Japan. I've never shredded there.
You didn't get to shred.
Nah, this
Yeah, I've
January I
never
will be.
shredded
Like I've got a trip coming up, but
Who are you going with?
it's a Vans thing, man. It's to do with Vans Asia. And
Nice.
they want me to do like a mural thing for them, and it's been worked out at the minute. So 14th
God,
of
I love
January.
Vans. The best.
I just always rinse them for slip-ons, but they're never giving me.
Yeah.
Oh, we can remember that time. I kicked off at. Well, I didn't kick off. I was just taking the piss out of a Casillo once, and I said, "Look, mate, where are my slip-ons?" And he thought I was being dead serious, but I wasn't. Anyway.
How is Casillo's not there anymore? Somebody else now, huh?
Yeah, he moved on to Rickson.
Yeah, he's doing Brixton, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He was there for a good long time.
Yeah, he had a great run, and we've seen a couple of people that have been there for a long time move on.
Right now.
Doug
yeah.
Palladini, Jared
man.
Bevins,
Yeah.
Matty Patty, now Kevin. Business is tough.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it's just thankful that I've been able to, with the companies that we've been a part of, like still have a relationship with, people like Volcom, Vans, just Liptech, having those guys still be around and be with us and be supportive is huge, but it's really hard to see, friends and people that we've grown up with transition out of those positions.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're happy for them that they get, new positions other places. I remember, Bobby Meeks leaving Nike was like a pretty big deal. But I mean, where he's at now is super sick,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a big company, a lot of people.
I got something to add to that Japan trip.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we had a run of art. We started in Norway, went down to France, went to Spain, spent a month in France, South Coast, amazing with Volcom Europe. Got offered a mural opportunity on one of the rooftops of their offices. Had fun painting this huge Volcom piece for them. And then we kind of, we might have posted something or put it out there. And then we got a call from Volcom Japan that said, hey, we're having an anniversary party for a Volcom store in Harajuku. You guys want to come over and be a part of it, have an art show? We'd love to facilitate that opportunity. So we were like, heck yeah. I was like, hey, I got the text and I was like, hey, Schoph, you ever been to Japan? He's like, no, dude, I've never been to Japan. I was like, you want to go to Japan? And he was like, fuck yeah, let's go to Japan. So we flew over there and we ended up getting BMX bikes.
Nice.
We had BMX bikes in Tokyo for 2 weeks.
Come on.
And we just canvassed the city, got a bunch of art supplies, flew over there with nothing essentially, outfitted ourselves at this incredible art store called Tokyo Hands. It's like a 5-story art store in downtown Tokyo. Most amazing art store I've ever been to. But we stockpiled a bunch of art, a bunch of canvas, and then we set up at Volcom's Japan offices somewhere kind of around, like, I think it's right outside of Harajuku, but it's I want to say Shinjuku. And we would sleep in pretty late, get started pretty late, paint pretty late, but have a great time painting. But then the fun was after we stopped painting at like 10, 11 o'clock at night, we would go hit the streets in Tokyo.
With the BMX bikes. What a life.
Yeah. And then like drink until, we'd go and find just random pubs, random bars, places that you could drink over there until about 7 o'clock in the morning. And then the fun was like getting lost in the streets of Tokyo to find our way back to our Airbnb. It was always a challenge.
Well, you have a pretty good background in BMX. I think for your 50th, Deanie posted, or someone posted, the back, like the 360.
There was a 360 attempt that was like multiple crashes before it actually went down like that. BMX was something that, growing up on Vashon Island, that was my key to like freedom. So I got, into like dirt jumping and stuff as like a really young kid, 8, 9 years old. And then when I moved off of Vashon Island, started riding BMX at one of the local racetracks. And I was sharing, we had one bike, and it was my little brother and I.
That's
we
amazing.
both raced the same bike.
That's incredible.
So there was times where I'd be standing in the gate staging before my race as my little brother was riding the bike that we shared. So I just didn't even have my own bike.
What kind of bike was it?
It was a Torker.
I don't even know what that is.
It's amazing, like double top tube, like, late 70s, early 80s.
Wow, sick.
Really, it was a gift from one of our employees that worked at our sprout farm when I was a kid, and it was like we got, laced it out with a little, some wheels and made it more like race ready.
Sure.
But we still shared it.
That's such an amazing
race enough to like get up into, I think I collected trophies until I got really close to becoming like, like a 10, 11, 12-year-old expert. And then I saw a BMX magazine that had Chris Miller and this BMX cat, Eddie Fiola, and it was like Who's Rider, but it was Who's Rider 2, so I don't know. I never caught the Who's Rider 1, but the Who's Rider 2 is these two cats, and they were getting down in Upland Skate Park when that was still around.
Wow.
That kind of tells you the vintage of when this was happening, but
yep.
I saw a picture of like Chris Miller doing a 1 foot judo, and then a BMX doing a 1 foot judo, and it was like, who's rider? And I was like, all right, I know who's rider. And I went and bought my first skateboard.
Nice. That's insane. Schoph, you got any BMX background, or was the BMXing in Japan your
fuck all, mate.
entry to it?
I mean, the closest I've got is when I left school, I used to be a butcher. And I used to have like a butcher's bike.
I don't even know what that is.
Mate, not many people do.
I'll put it in the background.
Think about it in your head, like try and get that vision of a small wheel on the front, a big wheel on the back, a wooden box where you put the meat in the front, and like it's got like underneath the crossbar, it's got like a name of the butchers on it.
Yeah.
Like proper old school, man. It was like an antique. And now they actually keep this bike outside the front of the shop because it was that old.
Oh, sick. What's the name of the shop? I'll look it up and put it on there.
Fenton's Butchers. It was like a family-run business. My boss at the time, now he's passed, but his son's taken it on, a good friend of mine. And yeah, it was pretty funny. It was like, that's the closest I got to push bikes and all the rest of it, because every Saturday I used to have to push around, like, you know, you'd have like a joint of ham and half a pound of bacon or something, and yeah, and the handlebars were like, not like,
yeah,
they kind of came up like old school, you know. But yeah, that's the closest I got to anything like that, you know.
So then BMXing in Japan, you're just tooling around, following him.
We were just avoiding.
Rides?
We were just kind of avoiding being pandered by people, to be honest. We were like, just wanting to, because we'd work in this place till whatever time it was, and then I remember one night I just said to Jim, I'm like, mate, I've got to get out of here. Like, this is doing my head in. Like, just, we ended up in some weird little zone, didn't we? Like loads of little pubs in, like dead small pubs or bars. And we ended up just cruising around, and I think we cruised around on these BMXs for like all night. He ended up in a fucking central reservation on a dual carriageway or something, or whatever it was. Like, I don't know what happened, but yeah, all I could see is his 2 feet sticking up. But yeah, we were just cruising around.
All he wanted was like bacon and eggs, maybe some hash browns.
Right.
So I looked on my phone, I'm like, hey, there's a Denny's that's, you know, a couple miles this way. Let's go find, and because we were eating pretty traditionally, like ramen and chicken katsu and just kind of like however bento stuff that we could find throughout the day. But we, after drinking until 7 o'clock in the morning, we were like, fuck, let's just find some like bacon and eggs, you know. So we pedaled like, I mean, we were just rinsed. So we were like 3 sheets, and we pedaled to this like Denny's. We had a waitress that had a peg leg. No, she didn't have peg legs. She had like a riser block.
Yeah. Oh, right.
That was awesome. I don't know it, but it was like an interesting setting for this Denny's. Like,
sounds like a movie. Yeah.
It was like a refreshing break to get just a runny eggs and some like half-cooked bacon. We were happy as clams. But when we get out of there, we realized like we're really far away from our Airbnb. So we just started pedaling, getting lost and more lost in Tokyo, not really knowing where we're going. And at one point in time, I think we hill bombed down a hill, wasn't looking where I was going, steered into the curb, and ended up like cartwheeling into this median of brush, laughing the whole time.
Two fucking legs sticking out of the central reservation, like, and Jim's legs were just like upside down. I'm like, what the fuck's he doing?
Was he hurt, or was it?
Oh fuck, don't know.
Don't even know.
No, we were too off cut, mate. We were like, 2 sheets to the wind. So if he was,
it's fun to go for a full speed bail on a bike when you're drunk. Yeah. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's funny, man.
Yeah, I did a couple bails off of those weird rental scooters last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, just ditched it in the road, and I'm surprised I don't have like a screaming hand today. It hurts, but I
think also when you're a bit tipsy, like you bounce a little bit better.
You don't tense up. You just
you don't
like
tense
relax.
up and just bounce. And that's exactly what he did. He was like, in a bush, 2 feet up.
That's amazing.
Yeah, pretty funny, man.
That's insane. When you guys show up at Volcom anywhere or any place where you're going to do a big mural, does the atmosphere at the place, I guess you wouldn't know because you weren't there before, but I'd imagine the atmosphere kind of changes. It's like, hey, we got the art guys here. We got the reason that we do this thing happening live at our work, you know, like where usually Monday to Friday you kind of go in, you ship some units, you do your thing. I don't know. I guess maybe Volcom's not completely like that. They seem like a pretty cool company.
It's kind of good, man. What Imagot's offered us, like with that studio space, like it's really rad that we can, especially, you know, coming over from the UK, to be able to know that I've got a studio to work in. It's the bollocks, man. And like we can, yeah, Scottie's got his own program going off, obviously works for the brand and everything and does his thing, but we can basically just work until we want, you know, like this past week, you know, we had a couple of late nights, not how it used to be, but like it's just like, you know, work till about 12 or 1 or something and then tap out, and it's just cool to have that opportunity to be able
that's
you know.
dad life late. That's dad life late.
Oh yeah.
Not young, free.
Yeah, but it's cool, man. I mean, I can't thank those guys enough. Like Volcom, you know, what Imagot's done, like to help us have that, and here he is. See, exactly what he just said.
Yeah. I think he just said yippee-ki-yay.
Coming in,
Come on
Taylor.
up. Nice. Oh, he's going to want down right away. Are there any other companies like Volcom that you guys, like, have you gone and painted at like the Costa Mesa Vans headquarters?
We did. Like when Vans moved to that new Costa Mesa place,
yeah,
we did like a mural for those guys. It was called The Homecoming, and we painted a piece for those guys. And I do a lot of work with Dragon. I did some stuff years ago with those guys, and I mean LibTech's up in Seattle, but otherwise we did this wall piece for Vans. Maybe on that same run that we did Japan and all the rest of it, we came back and...
Yeah, you guys have had some runs, hey? Like, just like years of traveling, painting, following the Stoke. Like, okay, these guys want a mural over here. Sounds good, now we're going there.
I think sometimes it's nice as well just to be able to go, have nothing else to think about, and you can just say, yeah, let's do that. And for me, that's when my art tends to just, I can do it a lot easier.
Yeah.
You know, like, say, for instance, when Jim said about Japan, I'm like, yeah, because I've got nothing else stopping me. There's nothing else saying, oh shit, I've got to do this, I've got to go back to this 9 to 5 or something like that. I can,
yeah.
And being able to do that, I can paint and work a lot better, you know, it flows shitloads better for me, like, without any other things going off. And I guess being an artist, you're fortunate to be able to do that if you can pull it off, but, you know, yeah.
Jamie, how has having Thalo changed your the anchorless boat thing? Like, are you now at do you feel like you're doing the 9 to 5 thing, like dadding all day? And
I mean, yeah, it's a different experience for sure. I mean, but you know what, man, I'm so thankful that all those years that I took the opportunity to get out there and enjoy the world with just myself, with nothing really to answer to or no one really to go home to. Like, I feel like I experienced that selfish aspect of life to its fullest.
Sure, yeah.
And it's not like I have to put it in a box and like put it on a shelf, you know. It just you know, you change, you know, you change, and it's a new chapter, and it's like, I love being a dad. I love having a little dude in our life that's just, I want to include him on more chapters ahead that are able to put ourselves out there in the world for more life experience.
That's cool.
It's a little shifted, you know, like it's not as loose as it once was.
There's more stuff. You got to bring a lot more stuff, like car seats and backpacks full of diapers.
It's just like before, like when I was out there, like I didn't care if I slept on a dog mat in the corner of down on the street or whatever. It's like now I know I have to, you know, we have to have a good spot to sleep, eat, you know, amenities.
Amenities, yeah.
And before, when I was running
loose,
wild and free, I didn't really care about that. That was secondary.
Yeah.
Like I didn't mean too much if like I had anything to eat or if I had any place to sleep. But if I was having a good time, that was paramount.
Yeah. Well, Thalo travels good, obviously, travels well. He's pretty easy going, moving around.
Yeah. I mean, we've still been able to hit the road, you know. We've done a couple of trips from Washington to a couple times to Utah, Colorado for this trip. Went to Montreal and Toronto this summer.
Oh, sick.
See some family out there.
Rad.
And planes, trains, and automobiles, man, it's nothing really that slows him down. He's stoked just to be out there with us. Doesn't matter where it is.
You just had your 50th, and it was at La Push.
Mm-hmm.
Was he there for that?
Yep.
And was everybody just camping and stuff? There were so many people.
Yeah, I mean, La Push is a magical spot, and it's a cool spot that I wanted to bring everyone together to, not only to experience just what the natural beauty it has to offer, but also it's great for tent camping. It's got some cabins, and it's got a little hotel.
Sick.
So it kind of gives you a variety of accommodation option.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people in tents or little like pop-ups on top of their truck, but a couple of people in cabins, you know, like I think everybody, no matter where they were staying, was able to, we got some really lucky weather. It was beautiful. Good surf, good sun. It's a good time. Was
Travis there with his whole family?
Travis, not with his family, but him and Rasmus were out. Chris.
Sick.
And I mean, they've been doing a lot of foil surfing.
Tons, yeah.
Which is pretty amazing.
Yep.
You know, fairly athletic endeavor to be able to keep pumping the gas pedal.
Oh, wow, that's quite loud.
You know, if it wasn't the Melvins, I'd probably be a little bit
Let's
bummed,
keep it
but
going. We sound
like,
good.
Just like, man, love that stuff.
Yeah, the Melvins were badass. I remember the Melvins, somebody asked them something about Nirvana, because Nirvana really shouted out the Melvins, right? Like, they're both from Seattle, are they not? Yep. And the Melvins were like, they gave no love back. They're like...
No, it you know...
Driving to La Push for his birthday bash. What is it, Aberdeen they're from?
Yeah. Aberdeen, right.
Yeah.
They're both...
Seattle is a broad term for the Pacific Northwest for music.
Right. Yeah.
But the Melvins came out of Montesano.
Yeah.
And it's just south of Aberdeen where Kurt and Chris from Nirvana came from.
Grew up, right.
And it's about 2 hours south, 2.5 hours south of Seattle. Like Aberdeen's about 3 hours, but 2 hours south is Olympia, which is a really kind of a college town that brings a lot of that scene together.
Yeah.
And it's only 45 minutes from Aberdeen to drive to Olympia, where the Olympia College was. And so I think that was kind of the catalyst for a lot of those bands.
Yeah, that sound that came out of Seattle, just fucking epic.
Yeah, you know, being that close to it, like growing up in Washington and in south of Seattle during that time, like at the time, like you're so caught up in it. As a kid, like I was still listening to Ozzy and Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden, and then there was this like a new music that came out, and it was like, you know, it didn't really sink in that this was something that was changing the dynamic of the genre of music until later. You know, like Nirvana played in places where, you know, my first like really punk rock show was a Melvins concert at an Elks Club.
Seriously.
And it was an Elks Club that probably had like 50 people there.
That's amazing.
And I saw, and I was like, oh, this is like crazy noise. You know, I couldn't wrap my head around it because I'm into like polished studio heavy metal. What's up, dude?
Schoph, you were talking about Motorhead on the ride over here and how
Oh, mate, I always talk about Motorhead.
Yeah, and how it influenced the pieces that you guys did. You did those in California.
We did
getting
them
ready
down
for this
in the studio down at Volcom, and Scottie literally messaged me and went, "What are the names for the songs and for the pieces?" And I was like, "Well, I was listening to Motorhead at the time, and Hellraiser came on with Ozzy and Lemmy, and I was like, right, the Tiger one's called Hellraiser. No Voices in the Sky for the Reaper piece, and then two eagles, one eagle scream, and all down to like just listen to, you know, lyrics. And I 9 times out of 10 I always name the paintings after lyrics, you know, or songs, or that's where I get most of my inspiration from. So yeah.
So was that what you were listening to while you were painting them as well?
Oh mate, we were listening to all sorts. Fu Manchu, High on Fire, yeah, Motorhead, Sabbath, Nebula, it's basically just fucking, all the music we listen to. So yeah.
My daughter just sent me a Spotify playlist for my long drive. It was so sweet. She picked a bunch of...
What's on it?
She picked a bunch of, like, Primus was on there, which I was like, fuck yeah, that's dope. Some Butthole Surfers.
Yeah.
Just early, like, snowboard video soundtrack stuff. I don't know where she would have got it from. She's into the Strokes. That's her...
Bit of Iggy Pop.
Yeah.
I always remember when I was at my grandparents' once, and there was a TV program in England called Passenger, and they played the Stooges song Passenger when it came on, and I was like, my God, what is that? What's that sound? You know, like, I'd never heard it before.
Yeah.
And it totally got me. I must have been 13, 14 years old. And I remember listening to that song going, fuck me, that's the bollocks, that song, man. Like, yeah. I'd never heard of the Stooges, you know, because I was young, but...
I didn't get to the Stooges until I was quite old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Same with Alice Cooper, which Alice Cooper has a bunch of hits that got played on the radio a lot in Canada, and I always thought he was kind of like a fake Ozzy Osbourne guy, like an Ozzy copycat or something.
Yeah.
But his like early stuff, his catalog is deep, and he's fucking good.
I never really got into him. Like when I was growing up, first concert I went to was Def Leppard in Saxon.
That's amazing.
And I just remember that lyric, denim and leather work well together. And I was like, what the fuck is this? This is the best thing. And then I'm like, shit, Def Leppard, there's a Def Leppard and a one-armed drummer, that's shit out of luck, you know, like, Christ. But, just coming from the north of England, we had all that, you know, all those bands, like, even from Zeppelin, even though they were a little bit more south and they were in the Midlands, and, well, Sabbath were in the Midlands as well, but Motorhead, they were more north, and, yeah, we were fortunate to have all these bands that were just, even though it weren't my generation, I was getting into them when I was growing up, but...
Rad.
Yeah, it was cool, man.
Yeah, you were talking about Ozzy moving back and how big of a deal it is. It's like national news.
Yeah.
Which is sick, because, I mean, Ozzy was kind of obscure. Remember, like, growing up, it was like, you know, when he was going through his, you know, hair days, but he is such an iconic, like,
oh mate, it's bigger news than King Charles. It's like Ozzy Osbourne's coming back to England. It's like, that's where he's from. It's balls to King Charles. It's like Ozzy's done so much for fucking a lot, you know, like he's with the music, with who he is, what he's done in his life, and you know,
just the way he's lived.
And now he's coming back to England. It's like, we're getting a bit of our heritage back.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. Yeah. Getting your heritage back for sure. Yeah, he's quite the inspiration for a lot of people.
He's got a podcast out as well now, apparently.
Oh, I'm going to start listening to it all.
Yeah.
Who else is in it?
I think Jack and Sharon.
Oh, like the family has
Yeah.
a podcast.
Yeah.
That dynamic is just so sweet.
Mate, you're going to be listening to that back to Vancouver, aren't
The
you?
whole
Driving,
that's my whole drive back is going to be
Yeah.
getting caught up on the Osborne's podcast.
Don't just love this. Scotty's just found.
Oh, nice.
Yes, mate.
You want this one? I'm good. I got water. And a hangover from yesterday. Jesus.
The only way of getting over it is you only get a hangover when you stop drinking, mate.
That's the truth. I got to get past that. Holy shit.
That's fizzy, this. Where's he get it from?
He shook it up right before I give it to you.
Like roulette.
Nice.
There we go.
Now
Sorry
you're
about
good.
that.
Yeah, it's all good.
It's crazy growing up listening to that music and not really placing it, you know.
Yeah.
Just hearing it without a border, hearing it without a geographical location,
Right.
you know. But just knowing that it resonates with you in a way that moved you, or like it put you in a certain spot where you connected to it. But I think about that now when you talk about like, you know, all these artists that came from the UK that had, you know, for you knew exactly where they came from. But for me, I just knew it was heavy metal.
Right. Yeah, right.
And that was a universal, you know, a universal place that I put those bands in. Like, I didn't know exactly where Maiden came from. I didn't know exactly where Black Sabbath came from. I didn't know exactly where Ozzy. All I know is that when I got a chance to connect with that, it was like something that was like meaningful to me without that geographical designation.
It's interesting, yeah, because when we're talking about the Seattle sound, right? Like there was a real era of like where the media was just so focused on, you know, you could be a shit band from Seattle, but you probably get a record deal, right? Like because that was like what was happening at that time. Yeah. But that was attached to a geographical place, right?
Yeah. So that was huge in England. I remember when Kurt Cobain, you know, topped himself, and it was like a day of mourning at school, you know, like it was, because we were so into that. I kind of skipped it. I was kind of into Caius at the time and these bands that came out of the desert, but like with Nirvana and everything, it's like that Seattle sound, you know, and every time you land into Seattle, you always think of a Nirvana song or something, you know.
That is true.
Like Come As You Are or something like that.
Yeah, that is true.
And it's very much like, Seattle's very much like where I'm from back in England. It's 9 times out of 10 it's wet or damp.
Grey.
And there's a bit of a pub culture.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's something about it, man. Like it was huge in England when I was growing up, you know.
Yeah, I think it was huge all over the world.
Yeah.
But like it just went nuts.
Yeah.
Soundgarden. Yeah, I mean, it was just fucking awesome.
It's a trip, isn't it? It's like when you listen to music now, like what's the band now? Like what's the band coming out with the lyrics now?
I don't even know.
You know what I mean? Like there were so many cool pockets of music that we listen to, you know.
Well, it's a soundtrack to your life. That's the thing, right? So now the new soundtracks are soundtracks to the kids' generation's lives, and they'll know those things. When I'm thinking about place, like I can't even imagine Liverpool doesn't have Beatles shit like everywhere, right?
Oh mate, yeah.
Like there's
Scousers love it here.
Yeah. People would travel there, but I'm sure people travel to Seattle to just go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or whatever it is, music museum. But they've got real shit in there from Kurt. I've gone to his house. You know, I went to the house.
Really?
Yeah, you can just go there, man. It's crazy.
What's it like?
Eerie. It's eerie because you see the garage. Like you kind of have to.
Is that because you know that he topped himself or what?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, and there's a bench just out, like, you know, kind of where you can see it, and everybody's carved their shit in there and wrote notes to them and shit. Yeah, it is morbid, isn't it?
It's like I don't know. It's a crypt almost.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like you're going to a graveyard.
That's exactly what it
they
feels
haven't
like.
changed any of the setting they haven't demolished the garage, and you can still look into the window where he essentially sat there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was in the garage. That's so like you kind of Google like Kurt Cobain's house, and then it shows you the picture that, and then you're looking at that you're like, holy fuck, that's the house.
Who lives in there now?
I don't know.
Museum.
Oh no, it's like somebody's house.
It's just like no one's done anything new.
Yeah, it's just somebody's place.
No shit.
It's yeah.
Wants to buy it because it's got this historical significance.
Yeah.
Oh, is there nobody living in it? I thought there's people. Maybe not. Put that in front.
I don't think it's a spot that anybody has like bought, renovated, or wanted to rebuild from where it once was.
You'd think like
as far as I know.
Courtney would buy it or something. You know what I mean? And just like put a dome over it or something. But it's a very quiet neighborhood, so you also feel like this kind of sense of like, oh shit, thousands of people do this every year. I want to be respectful and not, disturb the people that are here. Like, I'm just here to honor this dude. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like going to Bruce Lee's grave is also in Seattle, which is super sick.
Me and our mate Ben Bruff, we went to Lemmy's grave.
Oh wow! Where's that?
It's in a graveyard. I think it's called Hollywood. I don't know what it's called. It's a big green graveyard, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called in LA, but we went in there and there's like, Princess Leia's grave, her mum's grave, like Dio's grave, and they're all singing, all dancing, like massive.
Oh wow!
And then you go around the corner and Lemmy's is about, like, literally about 2 foot. There's a pack of cards there with an ace of spades on it.
Fucking
loads of little shots of JD underneath it, but it's like so like you wouldn't even realize it's there. But
low key,
all these other people got these extravagant graves and stuff, and then you get to Lemmy's and it's just like 2 ace of spades and Ian Fraser Kilminster, and it's like, man, that's cool.
Fuck yeah, that dude was a dude, man.
Yeah, we went there and just had a couple of shots of JD, and it's funny when you go to people's graves that obviously have done something, or you've totally lived your life exactly how you should have. I've got a lot of time for that.
Yeah, it's fun. Like when we travel in Mexico, if we see a graveyard, we're going there because the just the ornateness of it and the vibe, that feeling. I think Mexico celebrates death in a very like in such a cool way.
They do it quite well though, don't they? They kind of celebrate it, celebrate death rather than get morbid over it.
And the imagery too. Yeah. The imagery is really like, it's so powerful. Yeah. I'm sure some of the stuff that you guys do is inspired by that art.
Yeah, Jimbo's dead morbid, so he always paints like morbid stuff. Always thinking about death and stuff, and
What was that? Throw the mic in front of your face.
I've gotten quite goth in my older age.
Yeah, you're. I'm trying to think because I've been following your art since that Acme. Since that first puking face Acme. Well, and you did a few things before that, even, right? But that's almost all the way back, and you've stayed pretty true. You've gotten really good. I mean, you've improved.
I don't know. I drew a lot of inspiration. I would go over to Hawaii a lot, so I drew a lot of like, it was kind of like really kind of floral and surf and hibiscus and plumeria and like the Roberts tour buses that were driving around with like, artwork on the side was always kind of something that resonated, and even the Hawaiian Airlines logo with the, beautiful Hawaiian woman with hibiscus in her hair, and that kind of, that always kind of connected and resonated with me. But I mean, it's just traveling and absorbing your surroundings, having the chance to pick up certain, or have the chance to go to museums or see art in places that are outside of your comfort zone has helped me evolve as an artist.
That's rad.
And it's really, I think just lately, like having a chance to get together with Schoph and to be able to paint, like, now that we've had a really good run of multiple years to build kind of a catalog and a body of work together, we can communicate well to reference past art experience to be able to build new work and body of work together.
Yeah, it's been incredible learning your guys' story, like the A symbol years, it's that friendship over time where you're like, fuck, I like hanging out with this guy. So any excuse to hang out, let's just do it. And now you guys have actually gone all in and built the company around, like, all right, let's do this. Let's follow that.
It's been fun. It's always been such a pleasure, never a chore, and it just gets better each time we have the opportunity to do it.
That's rad.
And it's really been
the art you guys made at this time in California, like the new pieces that are here, are fucking incredible.
Yeah, I think this time, like, we got together September 1st and we painted till the 10th, and we did 5 big panels in 10 days, and that was kind of that was a more deliberate, mellower pace, which seems pretty prolific to do 5 pieces in 10 days, but for us, I think that was kind of more of a civilized approach than what we have experienced in the past, and you can see it in the body of work that we did.
Yeah,
everything is a lot more concise and clean, and yeah, it tightened up our approach.
Yeah,
it looks a little bit tighter. It's like we've done stuff before, and like, I think maybe we did over a week's time. We ended up doing, like, I can't remember how many pieces we did, like ridiculous amounts.
Yeah,
and it was just like, you get home and you'd be like, I'm knackered now. Like we painted so many for a Volcom store, and then like all these different panels, and we did it all in like 3 days. But this time it's just like, right, we've got a bit of space, let's think about it, let's just, we've not been able to paint together in a long time, and it means the world to me to be able to do that. You can't really paint with anyone, like it, with me and him, it's just like we just don't even have to talk. It's just, I've never had that before, I've got a few people I can collaborate with, but 9 times out of 10 it's like we just get it and we just go, that's how it's going to be, and done. And then you have a laugh doing it as well, and it's like, it makes, sometimes with artists it can become like a big dick competition or something,
Yeah, I could see that.
Whereas we've kind of got it on lock that we go, we understand each other's artwork and how it works and shit. And this time around it's been so tight, and you look at it and you go, you know what, just everything seems a little bit more crisp or something, because we stepped back and we only had 10 days. But
well, you've created a team too. You've got people helping you now.
Well, Scottie, I don't know where he is. I did actually want to get him in on this podcast.
Yeah, nice.
Just to say something, because I've always said to him when we started talking about 1910, all I want to do is make art. I don't want to deal with anything else. I've got no time for that in my head, and I can't understand it. And Scottie kind of came in, and he deals with all the shit that I don't really understand. I mean, maybe Jim understands it a little bit better than I do, but I've got no space for that in my head. I'd rather just paint, and create the art that we need to do. And Scottie's really stepped in, and he's done stuff that I don't understand, like getting it in stores and accounts and whatever he's saying to me. I ain't got a goddamn clue what he's on about half the time.
I love it.
As long as I can just paint, I don't give a shit about anything else,
Yeah.
So, yeah, if Scotty was here, it'd be cool to get him on here just to say
next time he
something.
comes around, we'll get him
Yeah.
to sit down. You
Yeah.
guys, are the 3D pieces, is this brand new at this show?
Yeah, it's something that I've been doing a bit back in England and Europe. Like, got a couple of shows out there, and my last one was it was out in Lax that I actually did 3D pieces in, but it's usually on wood and a lot bigger.
Right.
And my artwork alone translates quite well into that. But then I was saying to Jim, like, you know, our artwork's going to translate just the same, you know.
Yeah.
So basically, I broke it down into layers, and then it kind of makes it something a little bit more than just a flat print, and in between an original and a flat print, you know, like, so, you know, it gives it that different aspect as well, like
It's
depth
dynamic.
and stuff,
It's
you know.
badass, is what it is. It looks fucking awesome.
It would have been cool if we would, you know, if we had more time to make them a lot bigger and do it probably on wood so you can see the grain and stuff, but I think these have turned out just right, you know.
Yeah.
They're not too big, and people can look at it and go, you know what, I can fit that on my wall rather than having a massive door size painting or something,
Yeah,
you know, like,
yeah,
so, yeah.
It's practical. It's practical for sales. Right, because a lot of the stuff you guys did collaboratively was for shops, right? Like, so a shop has a wall or a space where they're like,
yeah. Like going back to that Japan trip, man, like there was like a mini ramp in the shop, and we did like a wall in there, and then also that same year the wall that Jim was on about on the roof of Volcom Europe, it was like a huge wall, and they were like, do what you want.
Sick.
As long as it's got a stone in somewhere, obviously. But yeah, it's kind of cool because these brands pick up on it, and that year it actually spread like wildfire. People like Vans and Volcom were like going, you know what, this is cool what you guys are doing. So when real estate came up with a wall, they'd be like, yeah, here we go. So
Yeah. It's like a niche. And you like, obviously, making art big, like giant big.
Yeah, I mean, it's better for us because we can work with like rattle cans, like spray cans and stuff. But
Yeah.
the way that Jim works is more, he does do a lot more than I do with rattle cans, whereas I do a lot more with like brushwork, like with doing lines and stuff. But
Yep.
like, for instance, the Eagle pieces, like, he did all the fill, like, so it's like, yeah, you get the rattle can to do the blends and stuff, and I don't really work like that, but I kind of do the line work and stuff. So when you're doing big walls, it's easy to work with like rattle cans and just smash the whole thing out, and it's always nice to actually get a big wall.
Right.
So anyone out there who wants to give us massive walls,
That's
this
epic.
happened last time we were on that podcast.
Yeah, I want to
Yeah.
hear about that. That's super sick. So you shouted out last time, if someone has that board that you were just talking about, your very first
Yeah.
board,
And
and
Ferryverse snowboard, and I sold it to him, and it was in his closet,
no
or his
way.
wardrobe, as English people call it.
Yeah.
And I was like, mate, I want that back.
Yeah.
Because it was like, literally, I got it for Christmas.
Yeah.
It was a second-hand board. It was, well, it meant everything to me.
Yeah.
You know, it was a snowboard, and when it snowed that Christmas day, I went straight to the hill and fucking learned how to snowboard, I guess.
That's amazing. Amazing.
But then I found out who's got it.
Yeah.
And yeah, he had it in his wardrobe for time. I'm like, do you actually do anything with that? And he's still got the baseless bindings on it that I had.
Amazing.
I was like,
Amazing.
no way, man. Like, and when I said to you on the podcast, I'm like, if you listen to this, I want that back. And then he got hold of me straight away. So
He listened and he got
yeah,
it
so
back
if you
to
got any massive walls out there for me and Jim to paint, then sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the craziest thing that you guys have ever painted? Like somebody's brand new car or anything like that? This is kind of an extension of the North Face jacket, right? Like, I'm sure sometimes people go like, holy shit, if you could do art, for me, it's priceless.
I think the biggest piece we ever did was the cold pad piece. You know, on the back of the bowl. It was like, obviously that was years ago, man.
In
but
Glacier.
yeah, that's probably the biggest wall we've ever done, I think, unless I'm forgetting.
That's such a rad project. Can you shout out some of the people that were involved in getting the coal pad going? Because that was a DIY.
I mean, the coal pad is definitely a special, holds a special place in my heart because, you know, there were guys and locals that wanted to try to develop a skatable spot up in Glacier for years, and this spot was kind of earlier developed. It was kind of a flat concrete pad, and they put up some Jersey barriers and threw a little transition in there, and then evolved it and developed it to a certain extent. But then for decades, it was dormant.
Yeah.
And me and Ryan Davis one day were driving around, and we were just like, man, it would be so cool if we could get something more up here, develop something more up here. And that's kind of where the idea sparked. And then it just, you know, we had a fundraiser that Schoph came up and was a part of. And essentially, like, we put up our own money to start the project. And by the time that Schoph and I showed up to what they had evolved and developed, it was just kind of these big eco block walls. And
we were Stephen as well. It was my 35th birthday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we got up there and we were just like 2 sheets to the wind again, just like fucking hell, like, which is when we say it's 35th birthday. That's a good 10 years ago or something, you know.
Oh wow.
It was fucking cool, man, because obviously Jimbo introduced me to all his mates that he kicked with and all the rest of it, and I met Ryan, and everyone made me feel so welcome there, you know.
Yeah, that community.
I think we got down on like a wall underneath the bridge, didn't we? I
mean, we needed 7. We initially started a project on property that we were squatting on. We didn't really have essentially permission to initiate a $17,000 pour from Grindline skate, you know.
To
build this clover bowl.
Whose property was it?
It ended up being this guy named Joe King.
Joe King.
Yeah, and he wasn't joking.
Are you?
I'm dead serious. This guy Joe King. He is.
There used to be a kid at our school called Wayne Kerr as well.
Yeah. So
Joe King.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
So this guy Joe King, after we initiated this build, and like we met him, and he's like, hey, I acquired this property and a collection of properties. It's a coal pad deposit that was used for a collection site that the coal would be brought off the mountain, staged here from the smaller trucks. The bigger trucks would come, get loaded up, and take off. Essentially, it's a hazardous waste site for me.
Oh,
so
shit.
The only thing to really treat this area is to cap it with concrete.
No way.
So if you guys do a couple things, put in some infrastructure, put in some widen the road for an EMT if something happens, you know, get a couple porta potties so people ain't shitting and pissing out in the woods.
Yeah.
I will gift this property as far as the coal extends to the town of Glacier for a skate park.
That's fucking awesome.
So
yeah, Joe King.
We needed $17,000. We put up a couple grand to get it started. By the time Schoph and I got up there, we had the fundraiser. We ended up raising a little over $20,000 with the contributions of friends, family, and community to make that project happen. And what started as a selfish endeavor to get skateboarding possible for us as grown men turned into this community hub that now we see all these like people. It's a destination. Skate teams are traveling up to it. People are coming down from Canada. You know, it's like the Groms of the community are now have this amazing. It's evolved into a full-blown skate park. Like it's couldn't be prouder of just helping facilitate that for the community of Mount Baker and Glacier, Washington.
Glacier is like frozen in time, it feels like. Like when I moved out in 1993, I think a little bit of the buildings have changed. I'm not sure if Milano's was where it is. Maybe it was, actually. And then the bar across the street. What's, it's
Milano's.
Milano's is the
and
Italian
then
restaurant.
Grams is right across from where Milano's was.
And it's still Grams. It's nuts. And remember all the stickers on Grams, like in the 90s?
The old phone booth that's there.
Yeah.
They had an open mic one night, so I got up on guitar and did a really, like a lounge version of a Turbo Negro song.
That's fucking epic.
It's the only place I felt comfortable getting away with such crap. I'm not getting much shit for it. But yeah, there's like 5 dudes at the bar, all locals, just like, again, like 3 sheets and then us. So like, fuck, why not,
Yeah, the biggest change for Glacier, and I don't even know if it's considered Glacier, but when they put in Chair 9, it felt like it kind of moved the epicenter of where things were happening kind of up the road a little bit. But that Grams, like small town feel, like small town.
Yeah.
But it was Baker, such a big fucking deal to the snowboard community.
Yeah.
There's something magical about it. And then the coal pad just fits in so well because now all of a sudden you've got a legitimate skate park, but you kind of got to know where it is. It's not, you don't just drive by.
It's so close, but it's tucked away in a nice little spot.
Yeah.
And there used to be a bar called the Chandelier that was kind of like the go-to spot back in the 80s and 90s and stuff, and now that's transitioned into a spot called Chair 9, and this guy Pete that started Chair 9, amazing dude, turned this landmark spot into another community hub. Supports the art community, supports the snowboard community. For all of our fundraisers, that's usually where we have the bands play.
Dope.
It's transitioned into the go-to spot for food. There's not a whole lot of food options up there.
That's true. Yeah.
There's no real accommodations. There's no resort hotel.
Right.
It's like there was just the only ATM in town is up at Mount Baker Lodge. There was no cell service. Like it's true. It's a dead end road.
Yeah, Pete was super sick and let me, in the first year or 2 of FNRad, I did a live FNRad with Terrier at Chair 9. It was fucking so sick.
Yeah.
It was dope. There's something that I don't know if you'll know any of this, and I don't know if this will go anywhere. Holy Smoke, a tavern. Do you know anything about that place? Remember, it was like a biker bar, and then it would turn into a church, and then it turned back into a biker bar for a bit, and then now I think it's a church again, is it not?
Yeah.
What is up with that? That's like the fucking raddest thing ever.
Yeah. No, I think it's down the road a little bit. And
it's way down the road. It's not in Glacier.
It's in a couple small towns on the way up.
Yeah.
But that's the eclectic dynamic that makes that whole area something special.
Yeah, I drank in there with my buddies.
You could pull that off, but
gnarly.
only in that area.
Yeah, it was.
Even when I was up there, like growing up in UK snowboarding, you're just watching VHSs all the time and stuff. And when he's like, "Oh, this is my mate Tex," I'm like, "I know fucking exactly who you are."
Yeah, dude.
And Steve Graham and stuff, and I'm like, "No shit, like, do you know what I mean?" Like,
yeah, Tex is a fucking legend, dude.
Oh man, like he put us up. The second trip I went up there, he was like, "Yeah, man, you're staying at my house," and I was like,
it's more of a compound than a house,
people,
right? Like
man,
he's got a lot going on at his place. It's dope. Yeah, it is really like such a special spot.
Yeah.
Like you go up to Kelly Joe's place and there's Harry Kearney's crashing out or whatever. It's like
it's the first time I met Wes as well. Like Wes was just like, I remember one night I ended up getting on the beers again and ended up sleeping in a forest or something. And he tried to come and find me. And he came back to come and find me in this fucking, like I'd only met him that week.
That's awesome.
Passing out. I don't know where I passed out, but yeah. He literally came out to come and find me and I was like, no way, man. Like, just solid people, man,
Yeah.
Like, maybe they're just trying to look after the Englishmen, but
no, there's a community up there.
Yeah.
And it's tight. It's tight knit. It's definitely tight knit. That's sick.
If we could get Scottie just to sit in,
should we do it?
Say something.
Jamie's like, He's too scared.
He's camera shy.
Is he? I don't.
It's about as camera shy as it gets.
Yeah.
He is the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain.
Yeah. Let's talk about Scottie. Where did he come from? What's his background?
He started working for Volcom since like early 90s, 93, 94, 95.
Sick.
And he's been a part of the Volcom dynamic and the cogs of the wheels that make that happen for the last 30 years. But he runs a visual sales marketing.
Here he comes.
Yeah.
I'd like to introduce you, Scottie Daniels.
Is he in the shot? He's in the shot. When did you first hear of 1910? I guess you're working at Volcom. They're doing their shit.
Jamie and Schoph have always been really close friends of mine, and we were able to develop this awesome relationship just through snowboarding and art, and really more than anything else, just good people, right? That was what attracted me to them, and hopefully them to me. So, yeah, I think when A Symbol was kind of on the out, and these guys were really looking to find another outlet to share their art, because it's really about sharing. We were hanging out in the alley behind the shop and having a beer, and they were talking about what's the next step and how we're going to facilitate sharing art and, with everybody. And I have those capabilities. I've worked at Volcom for well over 20 years and lots of mentors, and I wanted to be a part of what they were doing, just holistically to share, not really thinking like this would turn into what it is today, which is absolutely fucking amazing. So I just wanted to help out, and we just kind of started doing some stuff together, and there was a time where we decided to make a couple t-shirts, and that graphic that you're wearing now was the original one, and people went bonkers over it. People wanted to be a part of what these guys are doing.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be a part of it.
It's a throwback to the boom of the 90s of snowboarding.
We're just going to do our thing and not pay attention to what anybody else is doing. Of course, we have support from our mentors, and big shout out to the guys like Richard Wolcott, Tucker Hall, Jason Steris, Ryan Emigart. Like, these are, I have a very deep background with Volcom, and not a bunch of other brands, and these guys have worked with everybody. Yeah. But, I can only speak to the guys that have mentored me and taught me how to do what we're doing, and they're still reaching out to us, and they're still stoked to be a part of what 1910 is, because 1910 is just a brotherhood in collaborative art that people are interested in, and so we share it, and there's an awesome storm brewing for what we're doing, and we're really fucking stoked to, Eric, I had such an amazing conversation with you the first time we talked. It was awesome to talk to you and to feel the stoke that that you have for snowboarding. That's what we're all doing, is we're all just trying to have fun, being old men, and still being stoked on snowboarding. And there's nothing better than a good pow hack. That's it.
Sure. Yeah, and you've got, so you got this more wise mentality, not that young, whatever happens, which makes some of these companies happen. You've got hey, maybe we could do a bald-face trip. Would a bald-face trip, if we do a brand, could we work a bald-face trip into that brand? Yeah, we could do that. It's holy shit. A vehicle for, these guys just talked about it. We like making art together. Let's build a vehicle to facilitate
that.
What's that?
Next next ball-face trip, right?
Yeah. Yes, 100%.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's in the microphone now, man.
Yeah,
So,
I need to go to Baldface. I've said it 1,000,000 times on mic. Yeah.
I can't reiterate more what Scottie was saying about how the support and foundation that we've had from the sponsors that have carried us all these years. Volcom has been a huge part of that.
That's so sick.
They still continue to be a huge part of that. We wouldn't be here without them, and like we still have a huge relationship with that entity, and it's something that like so thankful and grateful for the support and family that I've felt with Volcom, and it's kind of like allowed me to learn, allowed me to evolve, but also see like what's important in as a company evolves and grows, and they still do an amazing job to kind of keep that legacy alive, and you see that with like them continuing to support people like myself and Brian Iguchi, who are we've had a great run.
Yeah.
We've had amazing life experiences with them and grown up with them, and
they seem to do it right. And that's the thing. Volcom seems to just like live life right. You know what I mean? As a company, they've got the house on the North Shore, the surf thing. They've got the snowboard thing locked down. Like they do it right. And it's inspiring, right? Like it's inspiring that now, 30 years later, from 93, we're 30 years later, and people are still wearing Volcom, still supporting Volcom, and it still translates into, like I know what it means when somebody shows up and they're wearing like a Volcom piece. I'm like, that guy's cool. Yeah. So it's like it's been family. You mentioned mentors too, and it was like a course in finance today, listening to Jeff Pensiero, just like the stuff off the top of his head. Write a business plan, get it down, get it jotted down, and don't worry if you deviate from it. That guy has got some serious business sense, huh?
No.
Yeah. Absolutely. When I sat down with Jeff in March, I knocked on his door and said, "Hey, I just wanted to say hi." And he invited me in and gave me some words of wisdom, which were amazing. When Jeff Pensiero's like E.F. Hutton, man. When fucking he talks, people listen.
Yeah.
And probably a lot of you guys out there that are going to hear this don't know who the fuck E.F. Hutton is, but us old guys do. And it was cool to just have him give me a little bit of knowledge and just say, like, hey, align yourself with the right people. Be conscious of what you're doing. Pay attention, and that's it. And pay attention to what you're doing. Do everything for the right reason, and that's all we want to do. Like we just, we're not trying to get rich overnight or do anything like that. We just want to enjoy each other's company. For one, Jamie and Schoph came down to Costa Mesa, and we spent the last couple of weeks curating this show and doing original art and a bunch of other really fun stuff. But the best times of all that stuff are when we're just hanging out and having a Guinness and talking shop and being family. And Jamie's girl Deanie is amazing, and we love Thalo, and they love my children, and it's a very mature situation that we're in right now. We were all hellraisers. Every single one of us, when we were young, we set the world on fire, right?
Yeah.
And then pour gas on top of it. We really were on fire. And it's nice to mature into this second phase of life and have this opportunity with these two fucking legends,
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I'm grateful. Yeah, exactly. Look, it's all smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, it's all smoke and mirrors.
Well, I want to thank all three of you guys. All the hanging out this weekend's been sick. The Mecca event is, when you were talking about there's a storm brewing, like I know there's a storm brewing with 1910, and I think these kinds of more community events, like we always had SIA, we always had ASR, and those were the places that we came together as a community and grew.
Big shout out to Mikey LeBlanc for making this Mecca. Yeah, like
Mikey has made this experience amazing. He's an amazing human being. He's in it for all the right reasons, and we appreciate you, Mikey. We fucking really, really do appreciate you including us with what you're building on.
Yeah, he's the man.
It's given a chance to bring the community together in a way that we haven't felt in a long time.
Yeah, right?
You know, there's been this polarity that happened. I think, you know, COVID kind of shut a lot of the world down, shut a lot of the industry down, and kind of broke that fabric that was kind of bringing us together.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful that he's given us the opportunity to kind of rebuild that rift.
Yeah.
And like...
I think it's important we don't lose that community because of online, you know, like sales and phones and all that shit. Like, we need real life interactions and cool events like this for an excuse to get together, really, is what it is. They've always been an excuse to get together, right? You do business at these things, but you could do business.
It was always secondary.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, business was always secondary.
The dollars and cents was always a secondary factor of what brought the community together.
Right.
And all the memories, what came out of that was never connected to the business side.
No, it was always
the memories that I carry with me from the last 30 years of being a part of it were never connected to the bottom line. It was always stuff like this, having fun, making art, listening to great music, and bringing friends together to have a good time in one place.
Getting to see people from all over the world, that's super dope. Yeah. Right on, you guys. I think we got it.
Yeah. Hey, Eric, once again, man, love you so much. Thank you so much for having us be a part of it.
Thanks, Schoph. Thanks, Scottie.
Appreciate your time, Eric.
Yeah, you guys are the best. All right. Right on, let's party.
Awesome.
FNRad shoutouts this week to Schoph, Scottie, Jamie, Deanie, Thalo, and Jake Scully. What a weekend. So fun to hang out with the 1910 crew. Extra special thanks to Tracy from Skyview Campers and his son, who drove Skyview down to Denver for me to stay in while I was there. I can't wait to get one of these things up in Canada. So much love to all the listeners who make it to the end. Send me a message for a free sample of New Greens to wherever you are in the world. I just finished my morning berry greens and I feel fantastic. So be sure to come back next week for more FNRad snowboarding presented by Skyview Campers and brought to you by FNRad Productions.